I want to start off by, here's what I got to ask you. And it's a very, blunt question. And the question is, listen, are you in or are you out? Listen, are you in or are you out? When I'm talking about your goals and your dreams, I'm talking about these things that you want to make happen. Are you in? Are you 100% committed to making this thing work? Are you 100% committed to making your marriage work? Are you 100% committed to writing the book? Are you 100% committed to growing your business? Are you 100% committed to realizing your goals and your dreams? Or are you sitting on the fence someplace? Somebody told me that the people who sit on the fence, guess what? They get shot from both sides. So listen, you're either in or you're out. You can't be both. And too many of us, unfortunately, we fall short of our goals and our dreams. We don't realize the things that we want to accomplish. Why? Because we're not fully committed. Why? Because we're not willing to go ahead and dedicate all of our time, our effort, our energy to making this thing work. And so what I'm hoping is by the time that you're done with this message, that you're going to be able to literally be able to make a decision, specifically when it comes to your goals and your dreams, and make a decision whether or not you're going to play full out or if you're going to continue to sit on the fence, whether or not you're going to play full out or if you're going to continue to make excuses or allow yourself to share that same old story over and over again, whether or not you're going to decide to go all in, put everything in on the line, or if you're going to continue to just say, I believe, but you're not willing to take any action. And maybe perhaps one of the best illustrations that I can give you to help put this in the context, there's a gentleman from back in the 1800s. His name, they called him Mr. Charles Blondin. And this gentleman, he's actually made history, and he's the very first person ever to go ahead and tightrope over Niagara Falls. Now, for those of you who know, Niagara Falls, I mean, those are some rough waters. I mean, it is quite a sight to see, but you've got to definitely be quite a daredevil to make the decision that you are going to actually tightrope over Niagara Falls. And so this gentleman was actually the very first person ever to tightrope over the Niagara Falls. And of course, when people found out that he was going to do this ridiculously crazy, insane thing, you can only imagine that people both on the American side of Niagara Falls and also on the Canadian side of Niagara Falls, that there was a spectacle. I mean, literally hundreds and literally thousands of people came out to see this guy. And I hate to say it, but most of them came out because, you know what? They didn't really come to really cheer him on. Trust me. Most people were drawn by the fact that if this guy literally falls off this tightrope, that there's a very strong possibility that he is going to die. And they thought it was absolutely insane. And so, you know what? There's that thing about human nature. People want to be entertained. People want to see a daredevil. People want to see somebody do something that's absolutely insane. So everybody came out to see this guy literally walk this tightrope that's over 1,100 feet and literally put his life on the line. No safety net, no nothing. And if he falls off that tightrope, there's a possibility he was going to die. So these people are standing there and they're all watching, and they see this guy, they see Mr. Sir Charles, as they call him, walk this tightrope. And at first, these people are just sitting there and, of course, they're holding their breath and they're wondering, can he do it? And to their amazement, to their absolute amazement, this guy walks from one end of the tightrope all the way to the other. And now, of course, now they're like, wow, this is insane. This guy put his life on the line. But now he's like, wait a second, I'm not done. He's like, wait, I can do more. So he decides to get back out on the tightrope. He gets out there and now he starts doing crazy tricks. I mean, he's hanging upside down on the tightrope. He's carrying things across on the tightrope. He lays down for a moment, gets back up. He starts taking a couple of quick steps. He's holding the pole at one time. He decides to throw the pole over. I mean, now this guy's an absolute spectacle. And I mean, the more he goes back and forth over the tightrope, people are starting to become more and more believers of how talented and how crazy and insane this guy is after he does it. So now he's like pushing the line. I mean, he's starting to do ridiculous stuff. He actually decides to go through on the tightrope, walking on stilts. Do you hear me? This guy decides to go over Niagara Falls walking on stilts. People are looking at it like, this guy's insane. And then he decides to actually carry something in his hands. And like, man, this guy's bananas. And then he looks over at the audience and he's like, listen, all these people who are watching him do this, and he's like, let me ask you all a question. Do you believe that I can go ahead and walk this tightrope pushing a wheelbarrow? And so they're looking at him, and after seeing all the crazy thing he did, they're like, we believe, do it. And so this guy gets back out on the tightrope with a wheelbarrow, and he actually goes from one end of the tightrope, crosses the Niagara Falls, pushing a wheelbarrow. But now he's like, you know what? That's not enough. That's not enough. And so he's like, you know, do you guys believe that I can put some, you know, like a bag of potatoes in this wheelbarrow and go from one end of the tightrope to the other? And they're like, we believe, do it, do it. So he throws in like a sack of potatoes. He goes from one end of the tightrope all the way to the other end of the tightrope. Now, the people are like, they're like, man, this guy's amazing. This is extraordinary. I mean, they're at the point now, they're in complete amazement. And now he sees how riled up the people are, how excited they are. And so one more time, he's like, do you guys believe, do you believe that I can go from one end of this tightrope to the other end of the tightrope, pushing the wheelbarrow, but even more than just pushing a wheelbarrow, do you think I can do it with somebody sitting inside the wheelbarrow? And so, of course, now he asked that question. And so once again, the people, after seeing all the amazing things this guy's done, they're like, we believe, you can do it, you can do it. And so right after he says that, he looks out at the audience and he goes, okay, if you guys believe that I can do this, let me get one volunteer. I just need one volunteer. I need one person who's willing to get in the wheelbarrow. And let me tell you something. Nobody was willing to get in that wheelbarrow. You see, nobody was willing to have that amount of faith to get in that wheelbarrow, even after seeing all those tricks, even after seeing all that stuff, even after seeing him go back and forth. They weren't willing to get in the wheelbarrow. And so here's what I want to say to you. You know, it's one thing for you to go ahead and think about your goals and your dreams. And somebody says, you know, do you believe that you could be a published author? You said, I believe. Do you believe that you can go ahead and actually be able to start your own business? You say, I believe. Do you believe that you should be able to take your life to the next level? You say, I believe. Do you believe that there's another career out there with your name on it, that you can put yourself in a position to create the kind of income that you want? You say, I believe. And then life looks at you and life says, get in the wheelbarrow. And then we don't get in. And you see, what happens to most of us is we're not willing to put it all on the line. You see, we'll say that we believe. We say that we believe that we want to write the book. We say that we believe that we can write the book. We say that we believe that we can start the business. We say that we believe that we can turn our situation around. We say that we believe that we can have a happy, fulfilling relationship. We say that we believe, but then when life looks at us and life says, get in the wheelbarrow, most of us, we get real quiet. Most of us, unfortunately, we're like, you know what, on second thought, I believe, but not to that extent. And so my question for you is, I want you to think about this thing that you've been wanting to do with your life, this thing that you keep saying that you believe that's possible for you. And my question is, are you ready to get in the wheelbarrow? Are you willing to put it all on the line? You see, what happens is once you get in that wheelbarrow of life, what happens at that point is you're 100% committed. Listen, your feet are no longer on solid ground. Listen, you're 100% in. You're no longer holding on to the excuses. You're no longer holding on to the safety net. You're no longer holding on to that check that hits your bank account every 2 weeks. Listen, you are 100% committed at that point. That's what it means to get in the wheelbarrow. And you won't be able to produce the type of results that you want in your life. You won't be able to produce the type of results that you want in your business. You won't be able to produce the type of results that you want in your relationship, in your marriage, until you're willing to fully get in the wheelbarrow. And so the question is, are you ready to get in the wheelbarrow? And I'm telling you this, I remember when I was still working in corporate America, and let me tell you, I was saying to myself, I believe, Andy, I was saying to myself, Andy, listen, I believe that there's more to my life than just, working here at this corporate job. Great company, but I believe that there's more. And I remember saying to myself, I believe that I could become an entrepreneur. I remember saying to myself, I believe that I've got a gift, I got a skill, I got a talent, I got a passion, I got to figure out exactly what it is, but I believe that God has placed something in me. I believe it. But let me tell you, until I was willing to make the crucial decision, until I was willing to actually walk into that office in December of 2004 and turn in my letter of resignation to the lady who was head of HR at the time, this lady by the name of Tammy Klein. It wasn't until that point that I actually got in the wheelbarrow. You see, because it was at that point that, guess what? Now I no longer had the safety net of having this career. It was at that point that now I was walking away from this college degree that I had in accounting. At that point, I was walking away from this master's that I had in corporate accounting. I was walking away from this CPA license, this license that I had studied and prepared so much for. I was walking away from that safety, the check that was hitting my bank account every 2 weeks. Listen, I was saying, I believe, but it wasn't until that moment that I actually got in the wheelbarrow. And let me tell you something, once you get in the wheelbarrow, the game changes. Once you get in the wheelbarrow, that's when you discover who you are. That's when you discover what you're made of. That's when you're able to discover what your level of faith is. That's when you begin to discover what you're able to deal with and what you can handle. That's when you begin to grow. That's when you begin to stretch. That's when you really show up 100%, because at that point, it's sink or swim. At that point, if you fall, there's nothing to catch you. At that point, listen, you are 100% all in. And so either you're in or you're out, but you can't do both. And so what happens to so many of us, we begin to get frustrated about the results that we're producing in our lives. We get frustrated about the results that we're producing in our business. We get frustrated about what we're making happen in our lives. And the reason why is because we're not fully in the wheelbarrow. Listen, we got 1 foot in and we got 1 foot out, but it doesn't work that way. And somebody says you either got to get all in or you got to get all out. There's no halfway in between. There's nothing in between. Remember what I told you. They said the people who sit on the fence, and many of us are sitting on the fence of our goals and our dreams. We're sitting on the fence of making an important decision. We're sitting on the fence of taking our lives to the next level. And when you sit on the fence, you get shot, boom, from both sides. Both sides. And so there's a part of you that wants to make it happen. There's another part of you that wants the security. There's a part of you that believes that it's possible. And there's another part of you that's buying into the fear. And so what happens is when you sit on the fence, you begin to have a lot of frustration. When you sit on the fence, unfortunately, you find that you can't take things to the next level. And so you got to get off the fence. But most importantly, let me tell you something. You got to get in that wheelbarrow, because it's at that point. That's the point that you're proving that you're 100% committed. That's the point that you're proving that you're ready to take things to the next level. You know, I brought this story up before. You know, I have a friend of mine, and really now I would call him an acquaintance because we haven't been in touch for years, but I've been able to really see the things that he's making happen. And I remember one particular time when we were both involved with a direct sales company, and now, you know, he's still now with a direct sales company. And this has been literally, I mean, this has got to be about 14, maybe 15 years ago. And I remember one particular time we were having a conversation, and he was in that reflective state, and he was saying, Andy, listen, man, he's like, I don't have a college degree. He said, you know, my parents are not here. You know, my parents are over in the Bahamas. He said, my best friend is locked up. My best friend is in jail right now. Unfortunately, my best friend is in prison. And he says that when I look at all the other options, all the ways that I could be able to change my life, all the ways that I can completely be able to change the legacy of my last name, I look at all the different options. He's saying that the direct sales industry, this is it for me, that I'm not going to do anything else. This is the only thing that I'm going to focus on. And I remember him having that conversation. And I remember that it was around that time of him having that conversation that I could tell you, I mean, at that point, from that point on, he went 100% completely into the wheelbarrow. And let me tell you, when he got in that wheelbarrow, things were tough for a while. I saw this guy struggle. I mean, I saw this guy continue to work the business, try to grow the business. And as he's growing the business, have business partners give up on the business. I've seen him try to grow the business and unfortunately, you know, start making a little bit of income. And then after that, things fall apart and he really not be making any income. I've seen him go from being with one of the companies and making a transition and going to another company. But all the while, no matter how difficult things got, no matter how much of a struggle he encountered, he was 100% in the wheelbarrow. He did not give up on the direct sales industry. And I'm telling you, even though that him and I, we didn't necessarily communicate anymore, but I'm telling you one day, and as some of you recall, one day I got a magazine, I was flipping through the magazine, and here was a multi-page spread on this guy and how he was one of the top producers in his company. And so what most people don't realize as they're reading that article and they're looking at the success that he's had, they don't realize that 15 years before he ever appeared in that article, that guy decided to get all in. He decided to go 100% into the wheelbarrow. And so here's what I need you to realize. The result that you're looking to produce, the breakthrough that you're looking for, this next level that you're looking to get through, you can't get there unless you're willing to go all in, unless you're willing to get 100% into the wheelbarrow. And so realize this, that your next level is in that wheelbarrow. Your dreams, your goals, the thing that you're trying to take to the next level, the book you're trying to write, it's in that wheelbarrow. The business that you're trying to grow, it's in that wheelbarrow. That this fulfilling marriage that you're looking to have, it's in the wheelbarrow. You can't have it sitting on the outside, just being a spectator. No. Listen, you've got to be willing to get 100% into the wheelbarrow. I mean, you're talking about 100% faith. There's no looking back. You know, Martin Luther King said that faith is taking the first step, even when you can't see the entire staircase. So even when you're not quite sure as to how you're going to get to the other side, like this gentleman, Charles, like he wasn't quite sure how he's going to get to the other side, but he had the belief system to do it. But I tell you one thing, here's what a lot of people don't know about this story. And this is documented. This is actually a picture that's actually taken, that at one point, eventually, this gentleman, Mr. Blunden, he found somebody who did have 100% faith, because at some point, he actually walked across that tightrope with somebody actually on his back. They didn't get in the wheelbarrow, but they got on his back. There's a picture of this actually taking place where he walked from one end of Niagara Falls to the other end with somebody actually on his back. And when people see the picture, it is just mind-blowing to see the picture, because you're looking at the person who's on his back and say, what faith does somebody have to get to actually get on the back of somebody who's going to tightrope over Niagara Falls, knowing that it just one subtle movement, one subtle mistake, both of them would go into a plummet into the water, and that would be the end of it. You know, the likelihood of the surviving would be slim to none. And so it takes ridiculous amount of faith to get 100% into that wheelbarrow. It takes a ridiculous amount of faith to make the decision that you're going to go all in. But realize this, that it is the only way. It's the only way that you're going to find out what your next level is. It is the only way that you're going to produce the type of results that you want in your life. It is the only way that you're going to make. Everything else is just conversation. So let me tell you something. You know, during the time that, you know, me and my wife, we were dating and so forth, even if I was just telling her, I say, you know what, you know, hey, listen, Cassandra, I think you're amazing. I think you're an amazing woman. You know, I love spending time with you. Things are tremendous. Listen, all that point, listen, that's good and dandy, but all that time, that is just conversation. All right. And that's great conversation. It might be feel good, but listen, you're not all in. You're not in that wheelbarrow until you go ahead and decide that you're going to go ahead and make that formal proposal, put that ring on the finger, and actually say those vows. And you say, for better or for worse, till death do us part. And now moving forward, now you've made this ultra commitment. You've made this massive covenant. And now every decision you make, you have to take into account somebody else. That is what you call being all in. That's what you call actually getting in the wheelbarrow. Everything else is just good flattery. Everything else is just conversation. And so what I'm saying to you is this, that if you're talking about getting all in, you got to get past those conversations. You got to get past, you know, just the flattery and all the good things that you're talking about how you want to write the book, about how you want to become successful, about how you want to produce more income, about how you want to get out of debt, about how you want to, you know, answer the calling on your life, about how you want to become a speaker, about how you want to become a coach, about how you want to become this entrepreneur, whatever it is, that realize this, it is just really good conversation until you decide to get in the wheelbarrow. Because until you get in the wheelbarrow, until you're willing to become 100% committed, until you're willing to put it all on the line, listen, you're just playing games with it. You're just sitting on the fence. And remember what I told you, people who sit on the fence get shot from both sides, and that could be very painful, and that could lead to a lot of frustration. So my question for you right now is this. I said, my question for you is, what is it that you've been looking on and you're saying that I believe, Andy, I believe that there's a book in me. I believe that I can have success in this business that I'm in. I believe that my marriage could work. I believe that I could get out of debt. I absolutely believe that I have a gift, that I've got a calling on my life. That's great. Now that you know that you believe, I want you to think about what's that thing that you believe in, right? You bring it up in conversation sometime. You have casual conversations with friends, and you keep bringing this thing up, and it's good and dandy. You really believe. You really believe. And now my next question is the same thing that you say that you believe. My other question for you is, it's one thing for you to believe, but now my question is, are you willing to get in the wheelbarrow? Are you willing to put it all on the line? Getting in the wheelbarrow may mean that you got to leave your job. Getting in the wheelbarrow may mean that you got to go ahead and go back and get that next degree. Getting in the wheelbarrow might mean that you actually got to bend down on one knee and actually propose. Getting in the wheelbarrow may mean that you got to cut up some credit cards and start budgeting and start changing all your habits. Getting in the wheelbarrow may in fact mean that you're going to have to start waking up early and start changing your habits. But realize that getting in the wheelbarrow means that you're 100% committed. It means that you're going to have to start making some things happen. And it's in that place that you grow. It's in that place that you get to the next level. And so my question for you is, are you willing to get in the wheelbarrow? And if you're willing to get in the wheelbarrow, I'm extending you an invitation right now. What I'm saying is, don't talk about it. You know what? Somebody used to say this all the time in high school. I know it's not necessarily proper English or anything, but here's what they said. Don't talk about it, be about it. And so listen, it's great to talk about all the things you want to do. It's great to talk about, yeah, you believe, but now let me see you get in the wheelbarrow. Let me see you start taking the steps. Let me start seeing you do the things and start putting some actual actions to your faith. This thing that you're saying that you believe in, now let's do it. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. You want to write the book? Start writing the book. You want a career change? Go ahead and make the decision to go ahead and leave this career that you're at right now. You said this person you want to spend life with? Go ahead and take that next level and go ahead and make this thing official. Whatever it is that you're saying, that you're saying, listen, I'm ready to make this commitment, Andy. I believe. Listen, okay, great. Get in the wheelbarrow. And so I'm saying to you this, that once you get in the wheelbarrow, oh my goodness, it may be a little scary, but let me tell you, something amazing happens when you get in that wheelbarrow, okay? You start to discover some things about yourself. New doors begin to open, and you begin to show up in ways that you didn't even believe possible, because now you're no longer holding on to a security net. Now it's 100% real. Now it's either sink or swim. Now it's either do or die. Now you're all in, baby. All the chips are in. No more reserves. No more tight. No safety net. No nothing. You got to make this thing happen. And let me tell you, it's a difficult decision. But once you make that decision, things begin to change. And so I'm going to ask you one more time before I go ahead and let you go. I want to ask you one more time. Are you in or are you out? Are you ready to get into the wheelbarrow? Are you ready to make these things happen? And what I'm saying to you is, I believe that if you're willing to accept this challenge, if you're willing to go all in, if you're willing to get in the wheelbarrow, trust me on this, your life will begin to change. Things will begin to happen. You'll discover some things about yourself you didn't even know. You'll look back in a year from now and you'll say to yourself that I am so grateful that I decided to get in the wheelbarrow. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have some obstacles. Doesn't mean things aren't going to get a little scary. Doesn't mean you're not going to get some scrapes and bruises. Doesn't mean that there are going to be times that you're going to be literally convinced that, oh my gosh, this maybe wasn't the right decision. But if you're willing to get in the wheelbarrow and just go ahead and have 100% faith, trust me, things will happen for you. There'll be a transition, and all of a sudden, you'll have a completely different life. And so, one more time, are you in or are you out? And of course, this wouldn't be Andy Henriquez if I didn't end by telling you this. Show up for your lives, ladies and gentlemen, because if you don't, nobody else will. Yeah. Make sure you get in that wheelbarrow. Yeah, listen, I'm so excited that all of you have chosen to join me for the Show Up for Your Life motivational movement. And before we open up the lines and everything, you know, there's some house cleaning things that I want to do. But for those of you who've got stamina, you got a double hitter, there is going to be another call that's actually going to take place right after this. I'm going to give you the details for that. So I want you to stick around. But before I do that, of course, I want to go ahead and extend an invitation for those of you who are not, officially connected with me yet. Here's what I want you to do. I want want you to go to the free motivational website that I have, showupforyourlife.com. Just go ahead and type that in, showupforyourlife.com. And when you go there, just go ahead and look for the banner. You'll put in your name and your email address. After putting in your name and your email address, that's going to allow me to send you an instant motivational message, but it's going to allow me to continue to send you inspirational messages and videos and things that I believe is going to help you to show up in your personal life and also to show up in your business. Also, I would love to stay connected with you and invite you to join our private Show Up for Your Life community and join our private group. And so here's how you're going to do that. Open up a separate web browser and type in the word showupgroup.com, all spelled out, one word, showupgroup.com. And when you go there, it's going to direct you to our private Facebook group. And when you get there, go ahead and send us a request to join the group. And I'd love to go ahead and invite you to join the group. That's where you could join the community. We'll be able to interact. We'd love to hear your questions, your comments, and your feedback, especially for those of you who are listening in via live stream and you'd love to put in your comments and your feedback. You can go ahead and put your comments and your feedback right there